10% humidity. We only get 10% humidity. So
oh my gosh.
That means when it's warm, it's not really warm.
All right. So you know what? Dr. Susan really was looking forward to being involved in this, but she had, as I said, she had a speaking engagement out of town, which is good for her. That's what she does to pay the bills. And she also helps us here. But she is an extraordinary, and this is what I told people this last week, and then we'll get to Sheri some of the questions stuff. I am absolutely so blessed and honored to be involved with this club and the people that come in here. I see truly every single day, I see amazing things. I introduced a young lady to two people that just happened to be here, coincidence, and they all sat down over here. 25 minutes later, they all looked and said, we're doing business together. So that is how this club works. And I saw that just on Friday. So it happens every day, multiple times, a lot of times during the day, but at least once a day, I see something amazing. It's not about Martin. He's my business partner on here. It's not about Brian. It's not about all the other leadership. It's about the people that come here with like motivation that want to help other folks. And that's why, Sheri, I wanted to kind of tee that up for you. What made you decide to become a coach?
Well, I didn't decide to become a coach.
You just fell into it, right?
For the last 24 years, I've done consulting I did consulting. In the last 12 years, I ended up doing coaching and consulting because I realized how much when I was doing consulting, the people needed a combination of both. So we do a combination of both here to there consulting. We do both because we realize that there's times that people need coaching and there's times that they need some consulting. Like I said, I've done consulting for the last 24 years. I have over 27 years of experience, and then I realized that last 12 years, how much people needed coaching. And so then now, as you know, I coach on work-life balance. But can we really have work-life balance, Brian?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. We all try. It's a difficult, but you know what? You've got to try. If you don't try, as they say, if you think you can, you're correct. If you think you can't, you're correct. So you need to try. Right.
Well, I say if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. So at least if you plan, and I talk about 6 areas of your life, but if you plan, right, to have a plan, at least you have a plan. And then so when I was sitting down and doing consulting, I realized how much people would try to work on their business, right? They'd be putting their business plans together, their marketing, their strategies, whatever else. But if they had problems with their relationships, it was affecting the business. If they had problems with their health, it was affecting their business. And I'm a Christian, and the core of everything, spirituality, right? But I always tell people, you don't have to be a Christian, but the core of who you are, that will affect your business. And if you're not doing personal growth, it affects your business. So, and then if your finances are not in order at home and in your business, it affects your business because then you're running around and going, hey, take me to the prom. I need a date. Come on, take me to the prom. Who wants to take me to the prom when I'm being that desperate? Come on now. Look at me. I can't find a prom date. Right? It's like, no, but I'm saying we do that with business, right? We're like, buy this, because we're hungry and we need it. And they see that urgency. So if we don't have those areas in line in our business and our life, and no, I'm not a counselor, I always tell people, but at least if we have a plan for what's going on in your relationship, if you're having I raised 3 teenagers all at the same time. I raised 4 kids, but I had 3 teenagers. That affects you, right?
It does.
If you're going through a divorce or you're separated or what's going on in your life, it will affect your business. But without a plan, I can't get you back over on the business side. So,
Sheri, what is the biggest difference? And I it's coming from you. I think people understand coaching, consulting. What is the biggest difference between those two, and how do you merge those two together?
So I always say that, right? You teach somebody with coaching how to ride a bike. And when you're doing consulting, you might be riding some of the bike for them, right? Because they might need more of a bird's eye view of what they're doing. So you ask a lot of questions when you're coaching people so that they can figure out what they're doing. And sometimes you need that bird's eye view for somebody to come in and sort of do it for you. So I think even if you are coming in and consulting and helping people with the process, I think you need to be coaching them so that they know how to do it too along the way. Does that make sense?
It does. How do you coach people without them knowing you're coaching them?
Listen, believe it or not, I can be quiet and listen. I had a friend that hired me as a coach, and we drink together, we hang out together, we have fun together, right? So she came over or we sat down to have a cup of coffee, and she goes, oh my gosh, Sheri researched my whole company. Sheri made me stay on task. Sheri listened and asked a bunch of questions. And Sheri was like so productive in what she did. And I'm like, because there's the work hat and there's the play hat. Come on.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I always tell people you can remove a fly with a hatchet or with your hand. And I'd probably prefer the hand, obviously. So by you coaching and leading people to what, because sometimes that's really, really painful for people, to literally objectively look in the mirror and say, boy, do I need help. So how do you pull them and lead them to that concept where, does it mostly take time to get there? Or are you pretty blunt up front and say, you've hired me to do this. Here's what I see. Let's work together to make this happen.
I'm really good at meeting people where they're at, right? Okay. And so you don't want to make people, first of all, I have a coach. Did you know that? And I'm a coach. So don't feel bad.
Does. I think probably the people, Brian Sorrell, I know has at least one coach, and he's a coach. He's on the call. I just picked him out because I know for a fact he does.
But who the heck is trying to run? I know we run our business all by ourselves, and I am the CEO of my business, but really God's my CEO of my business. So I have him too for a coach, but I actually have a physical, not that God's not physical, but I have a physical coach too. And I don't understand why people would try to run a business or anything. I will say my friend, remember my second dad, Gerald Harris, more of a parent to me than my parents. He always taught me when I was 20 to have mentors and coaches, and because that's how you grow. And it's okay to use one coach for a while and get another coach. But the way that I meet people is I listen to what they're going on. And you know what? People know how to run their business. Did you know that? They're the CEO of their business. Most of them know what maybe they're running it sloppy. Let's be real, Brian. But I won't say that. But they all know what they want, or maybe they don't. But my point is, I don't come in and take over. I am the guide that make you look like a hero. So I am not coming and saying, you need me and you need to work with me. Instead, I just come alongside them and guide them along their process so that they can grow to the next level, so they can go from here to there, right? We create custom roadmaps too. We don't say that all people are the same. Even if you're in the same industry, the way you run your business is different. And your vision and mission and purpose and all that is different of what you want to accomplish. So believe it or not, I ask a lot of questions, I listen, and then people are like, how did you come up with solutions to this? And I'm like, because you sort of told me what your pain points were just by talking to you. But I can get people, Brian, I jokingly and not jokingly say I can get people to talk. Most people like me, Brian, but not everybody.
Not everybody, but I do. I love you.
I can get people to talk about the two things that nobody talks about. What are they, Brian?
Finances and personal life.
Yeah, I say sex and money, right? If you could get people to talk about those two things, and I do a confidential agreement. No, but my point is, if you tell me what's really going on in your life and what's really going on in your business, and let me look at your finances, and you be that authentic. First of all, I'm very authentic and transparent. Sometimes I'm probably too transparent, right, Brian? I am what you see. But my point is, if I can get you to talk about those, then I can help you create that custom roadmap, because you and I know life is too short to not be living our life on purpose and doing what we feel, well, I would say what God called me to do, right? But doing what we feel that we're supposed to be doing in our life and our business.
I've read articles, substantial amount of research has been done. Most people, even people that say, oh, I really embrace change. Most humans they're creatures of this is how I do things, and change is very painful. How do you temper that or aspirin the process so it's not as big a pain in the head? I went there. The pain, the pain point of change. How do you go about making people flip that switch and go, you know what? I do need to make some changes. You can't do them all at once, and I get that. But how do you go about, I guess, selling that because we all sell. I mean, I tell people all the time, parents sell stuff to kids. It's always you're selling an idea, a concept, an emotion. How do you go about flipping that switch in that person's head that is not so painful that they shut down or they go, ugh. How do you do that?
You ask enough questions and you make it to be their idea, not your idea, right? It's not really manipulating either. You go, okay, well, you think you can do A or B. And then I go, have you ever thought about doing C, where we can implement A and B? And they're like, what in the world? It's thinking outside that box. I don't know if you realize I was a system analyst before I started doing what I do now. So I'm really good about analyzing what the big picture is and figuring out, what some strategies that you could do. And you know what? A big change is not what you need to do. It's small changes over time that add momentum to where you're going in your life and business. So if you can just get people to do those small changes. You ever try to lose weight? Oh my God, it's so hard. But if you lose 5 pounds or you lose 1 pound, you're successful. And if you start seeing that snowball effect, same with paying off debt or anything else, if you see that snowball effect in your business, then you're motivated to do more.
Can you, without a name, can you give us an example of one of those aha moments? Because like I said, and I truly mean this, and I told Martin, and Martin also has experienced this. He's the guy that actually got me involved in this whole thing in 2016. So if you don't like what I'm doing, it's his fault. So anyway, and he's on the call here. He can shut me off just like that. How do you, what is one of the things that you've seen that this light bulb goes on and you go, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen? And the reason I'm asking this is because I think people on this call will appreciate that as a concept and grab onto that and go, I can do an aha moment. Everybody on this call should reach out to somebody today and make a difference in their lives. As a coach, I want to know what one of the best things, what is the best part about being a coach? And also, what aha moment did you see that you went, that is really cool?
All right. First of all, I got to let you know, Brian, I've known Martin longer than you.
Okay. There you go. Bragger.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about this. So I met an individual that, we go through those transitions in life. And so they went through a divorce. They were actually a man too. And they ended up a single parent with 3 kids, overwhelmed. Then they took care of their aunt, all these things. And somebody even said, wow, you sound like a female. Anyway, and then his aunt died and all these things happened. So then he decides he needs to hire me. Well, you know what? I can motivate people, Brian. I know you're shocked.
Me too. I'm really shocked.
We probably worked together maybe a year. But all of a sudden now he's closing all these deals. He's getting all these clients. He's all of a sudden way out of his box. Every time he meets with me, he's like, oh my God, you are amazing. And I have like 10 times what I paid you making money. And I go, well, of course, because that's what we need to do. And that really was exciting to watch him. I think he got a little depressed, a little down, you know what I mean? Because we all can get there.
Absolutely.
But to get him out of that and back into the mindset. And you know what I love about entrepreneurs? They are always very creative and thinking outside the box. But the problem is we cycle, right? We go up, we go down, because that's what entrepreneurs do. And so if you can meet people when they're having a little bit and we tweak it. So I actually don't tell people who my clients are. I actually don't need you to give me acolytes. The biggest acolyte is to watch my clients be successful. Unfortunately, I have to get paid too, Brian, but I actually get more of a high off. Oh my gosh. Get to watch the person become a rock star. And I'm like, that is so phenomenal. And all I am is the behind the scenes person as the guide. So,
but that's I think that's what really drives a lot of us. And it obviously drives you. And that's why I was asking what the best part of the coaching process is. I saw, and I'm going to just take 20 seconds. There was a gentleman that came in. I asked him what he did. He said, I was in the Navy. I said, and I might've told this story last week. This is something that really impacted me. He said, well, I flew F-14s, which is the Tomcat, which is the Top Gun. We're talking one of the greatest at that time in the 70s, 80s, best fighter in the world. And he goes, I saw him out in the middle of the ocean on an aircraft carrier. I saw my bunkmates. They're both officers. Get a Dear John letter, a true Dear John letter. Dear John, I'm done. I'm leaving, blah, blah, blah. Took everything. So he couldn't even get to shore for 6 months. He went to shore for 6 months later. His house was gone. Everything was gone. He slept on this guy's floor for 6 months. You know what he did? Instead of cratering, crawling up in a ball, he applied to be an astronaut 4 times. 4 times. Every time they turned him down because he didn't have this, didn't have this, didn't have this. So quickly, I'm going to finish the story. He was the gentleman that was on the Discovery, Space Shuttle Discovery, when they captured the Hubble Space Telescope. He ran the arm, pulled the telescope in. They fixed the telescope and he released it. Now he's in the history books. And I looked at this guy's name was Richard. I said, would he have done this if he had not got that Dear John letter? And he goes, I firmly believe no, because what it did, it put him in a position. From the ashes came greatness. He was absolutely at the bottom, the lowest part in his entire life. And all of us as entrepreneurs, we've been there. You crater, you go down, but this is why entrepreneurs are so, and that's why this country's so flipping great, is because out of those situations comes greatness. And it's something pushes you. And that's what this conversation he and I had. And he fully believes his buddy would have never, ever been an astronaut. So and here we got coaches. That's why you coach. You never know, just as your story right there, that you helped an individual to get to a place that they probably wouldn't have been. So I so appreciate that. So what is the common business owners need when they need help from you or with you? From what is one of the common things that you find on a very consistent basis they need help with?
Not tracking progress, right?
Okay.
We have to have those trackers of how many people that we have followed through with. We got to have trackers on what we're trying to make for money. We have to have trackers on what our mindset is. I mean, my whole book that I wrote, right? I wrote that book. I wrote a book.
Hold it up. Let's see it. What is it?
I know, but I had my real book, but I don't know where it is. But anyway, here's the book I wrote. It all starts with mindset, though, right? Chapter 1's all on that mindset and how important.
There it is. Look at that.
There's my
Look
book.
at Martin. Man, this
But
guy's
anyway,
all
Martin,
over.
you're awesome. See? But anyway,
I got your magic there, Brian.
my book,
Thank you, Mr.
my
Magician.
book is all about, right? Mindset. Mindset is the key to everything. If you want to lose weight, mindset. If you want to make more in your business, it's mindset. And then we have chapter 2's on that vision, purpose, and mission in your life and business. And then chapter 3 is about those 6 areas that I sort of talked about high level in your life that you need to, in business, that you need to have in place. And 4, you already know this, Brian, is those people that we surround ourselves with really, really matter. And having mentors and coaches, but also having people that believe in you and motivate you and want you to be successful, which is really good with the ACA, right? We have all those like-minded people that are, hey, how can we help you? What can we do for you? And that's a really good way to be. And then chapter 5 is about, I call it a pre-spending plan. But really, if we're not tracking our spending, right, of how much we want to make in our business, how much we write and what we're doing, then we cannot, and I need to stop saying right, but we can't hit those targets, right? If we have no plan, we plan to fail. So we have to have those things in line. We need to know how many clients we need to have. We need to know what the finances and what is our most valuable resource, Brian?
Us.
Time.
Well,
we're important and personal. Actually, at the end of the month, I'm a speaker at Becoming the Best Version of You conference, and I'll be at I'll be in one of the panels at what is it that we have coming up at ACA at the end of September. I'm on the panel for that. But anyway, my point is,
Velocity.
Velocity. But I will be speaking at the end of the month about self-care and how important that is. Because if we're not putting our own mask on, but I'm talking about time blocking, right? If we're not tracking our time, and part of it is, are you working out? Are you eating right? Are you taking care of yourself, right? You are not a computer. So you cannot just go. So literally you need to be tracking your time, your finances. You need to be tracking what goals you have for your business. Because if we're just throwing targets everywhere, we're not hitting the bullseye because we don't even know what we don't know, right?
Exactly.
So anyway, those are the things that we need to be tracking is how many clients, our finances, what our goals are, and then who we're hanging with, actually. Journaling is a great idea to figure out because sometimes you need to move those toxic people, or I hate to say it, I love people. And my husband says I collect friends, and I do. But after a while, I hate to say this, you can sometimes outgrow people, and not that you don't like them, but maybe you need to be hanging with, you should never be the smartest person in the room is what I'm trying to say. So maybe you need to hang with the next level of people to get to your next level in your life and your business.
Well,
Sheri, I'm going to go ahead and post this link to the chat too.
Go ahead.
I appreciate that, Martin.
Post a link to the chat for everybody.
Okay. Very good. Very, very good. And oh, by the way, Martin, at the end, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, only 2 minutes to talk about velocity. How about that? So
yes, because that's a great thing coming up.
It is. It's going to be a great program. Great experience for sure. So Sheri, what would you suggest you do to balance time and attention on things that matter the most? Because obviously, as you said, the most valuable thing, 168 hours in a week. So everybody has the same. I have no idea how some of these folks do what they do. And I can mention a half a dozen names, but they truly are very, very specific about tracking. And sometimes that particular word gives people angst, because how do I track these things? What would be a suggestion about how to track them? And also, how do you balance the time and attention on things that matter the most?
No, we should have a CRM. That would make it easy to track it. But you can always just use an Excel spreadsheet, right? I use QuickBooks.
Yep.
And I am, believe it or not, I'm a nerd that has people skills. I know. So I track every penny to the penny of what's going in and going out in my business and my personal life, which sometimes drives my husband nuts. But anyway, even for retirement and stuff, but you don't have to track every penny. But the more you track, the more you know. So you could use an Excel spreadsheet. I would recommend QuickBooks, but you use whatever works. But without tracking at all, that's not good at all. And when you bid jobs, you should track, how much you're getting in, how much your expenses are. And of course, don't forget about Uncle Sam. I hope you guys all have a little savings account over to the side off your business. When you open up a business account, they make you do a savings account. That's because you should put in 10% of what you make, because they like to charge us a lot when we're small businesses. And if you don't spend it all, that's great, but you should be putting that over for every job. And so making sure that you're tracking and you're doing, those type things is really, really important.
Because Uncle Sam will find you. And by the way, doesn't matter how you think you're going to try to get out of it, you have to pay. You have to pay taxes. They have no accountability. So the best way to keep them off your butt is do the things the right way, and make sure you have somebody that can help you with that, as a coach, CPA, whatever, fractional CFO, if you so choose. You got some complexity.
That's the thing is, I do sit down with clients if you're overwhelmed with tracking, and we come up with systems, but I custom make these systems. Okay. Just because somebody else uses this system, it might not work. People love to ask me, what's the best planner? And I go, well, let's figure out how you think, who you are, because I'm really good at making sure I know people's personalities, because that matters. So what's going to work for you with tracking? Let's do what's best for you.
Very, very good. Well, I tell you what, we're going to have the magician behind the curtain. Let's go to a breakout, 13 minutes. And how about what we talked briefly about this? How do you balance all you have going on in your life? Is that one of the questions you want to ask in a breakout? And what else? If you were a coach, what is one piece of business advice you would have for another business owner? How about those two things? What do you think?
Awesome.
Is that awesome? Well, I know, because you came up with them, and I just, oh gosh. and the reason we do this, because we want you to think. This is not rocket science, folks. It's not. But sometimes the easiest things are the hardest to do. And I see that, and people lose sight and lose track of that. And again, we always go back to the balance. That is so critical. What Sheri has been talking about is a balance of life, spirituality, life, whatever, with your family and also your business. If one of those are out of sync, it's going to go like this, and you're going to go to the bottom of the ocean. So you might be successful at your business, but your personal life is going to suffer. Or the other way around. If you're way too focused on this and you don't get your business done, you're not going to be able to make a living. So what do you think? Okay, so here are two things, and these are very similar, but how do you balance all you have going on in your world, in your life? How do you balance that? Some suggestions so we can come back and talk about those. And if you were a coach, and I think we found out the difference between coaching and consulting. If you're a coach, what one piece of business advice would you have for another business owner? And I think that's what this is going to do, is make you think outside the box a little bit and go, this is what I would recommend. I think we're going to come back with some very interesting concepts. So, all right, Mr. Magician, behind
great discussion. And don't forget to introduce everybody when you first open up the room too.
And remember what session you're in, and pick a leader. Someone needs to take lead and rock and roll with it, so you can get some stuff done. 13 minutes is not long. We'll see you back in the big room. Woohoo!
Here we go.
All right, look at that. Look at this guy. Man, it's like you've done this before.
Yeah, Brian. Learn from the best.
Martin, can you put me back in room 2, please?
You bet. Let's see.
Keep falling off.
All right. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome back. There's some great discussions around that. Good topic.
All right. Man, do we have a lot of fun in ours. Holy cow. We came up with some really top level secrets we can't share with you unless you sign non-disclosures. How about that? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Welcome back. Hi, Vince and Stacy. Man, that's a long first name. Vincent Stacy Neal. Wow.
Pronouncing it wrong. I'm just kidding.
Welcome back, folks. Anybody have some great, we only have about 5 minutes. We came up with, I was at 5, and I'll start. We came up with schedule. Schedule. That is the word of the day. Schedule what you need to do in order to have the balance of your life. So you schedule, time block. Who on here does probably the best job of anybody? Mr. Martin Hess. Time blocking. He has to. We all have to. But he does. He's really, really good at what he does. All right. Who is in session 1? We have about...
I'm representing room 1. There was myself, Stacy Neal, Ruth McBride, and Steve Schaefer. And so the key takeaways in our conversations as far as 2 questions was you got to have balance intentionally as far as your business, your social life, your faith, your fun time. But that's how you are able to balance it. You have to have focus on it and give it its intentional space. You need to have a support system for your business as well as your personal growth. Don't quit. You need to have perspective on yourself as well as the space that you show up. I mean, it's not all about you. It's about environment as well as your own self-identity and how you show up. And it's a process. It's not an event. So
very good.
Not a sprint.
Thank you, Miss Emma. Okay, number 2. And I'm not taking Sheri's thunder. I want to get to the point because I want her to wrap up real quickly about her book. Okay, go ahead. Number 2.
That would be me. And I dropped
off. Libby.
Well, I dropped off and Amy just sent me a thing said, Libby, you're going to be the speaker. So, well,
okay,
I dropped it off. But
30 seconds. Go ahead.
One of the things we did say again is planning or scheduling and take time for yourself. Amy said a lot of stuff and she kept freezing up. So if she wanted to tell me what she said, but I do know we said planning and scheduling and taking time for yourself. And I told them one of the things I like to do is I'm a gamer. I like to do silly stuff and walk away from life and let my mind do other stuff. So that I
love it.
So anything. But that's what we said. Unless Amy can tell me what she said.
All right. Number 3, real quick, 30 seconds.
Okay. Let's see. Ken Cornelius and Dave Riker. All I know is that it was really good. We talked about equilibrium, balance, time blocking, and making sure that you get the one thing that makes the things move forward is what I added. So, hey, and we discussed some of the other things that have already been talked about. So I'll just move on.
I love it. Thank you, Dr. Sorrell. All right, 4.
Well, we were number 4, but somebody else could speak. Where's my number 4 people? But anyway, they probably don't want to. But we talked about work-life balance, and there was great things like people were journaling about what they want that day, and then they were journaling how they met those at the end of the day. And I loved that idea. And then we had another individual that makes sure that they always have dinner. They're newly married and they make sure they always have dinner together. And they learned how to do some of that time blocking. Yeah, we had Tom on there too. They learned how to do some of that time blocking, you know what I mean, early on before they even got married, which was great. And then we had people that were talking about, anyway, there was just great talk about time block, and we all went around and we got to know each other really, really well about that too. So that's sort of what we talked about.
And one thing I wanted to bring up, Ron Arlen brought up a point. It was Ron and Pam. We're in the chat. He said Sunday night, he's intentionally sets down and sets out a schedule. Now that doesn't mean it's not going to change. There's flexibility in that. You got to be flexible and on the move. But you sit down, you say, here's what I plan on doing. Plan ahead. If you don't plan, the plan won't ever happen. So
that's we talked about that.
Absolutely. Okay, so real quickly, you know what, Martin, why don't you, I'm going to give you a minute here, 2 minutes, whatever you need to talk about velocity. Because I know Whitney was supposed to be on. She's obviously, anyway, so quickly.